Hello students, today we are going to discuss the second lecture on interference of wave, and today is the day when we are going to discuss the actual topic, and that topic is called Young's double slit experiment. It is also known as YDSE. It is abbreviated as YDSE, and it's a standard. Okay. So if you come across YDSE, it should be known to you. It should be known to you that we are referring to Young's double slit experiment. Okay. Now, before we go to the topic, let's have a quick recap of the conditions which we learned in the last class. That is the condition of constructive interference. So, condition for constructive interference is given by if you consider the phase difference. Phase difference is 2n pi, and the corresponding path difference will be equal to n times of lambda. And then we have destructive interference. Destructive interference, your delta phi is equal to 2n minus 1 times of pi, that is the odd multiples of pi, and for the path difference it is equal to 2n minus 1 lambda by 2. Okay. Now, when we deal with light, remember we are dealing with light today. So, in Young's double slit experiment deals with light. So, when we deal with light, we also refer the positions where constructive interference takes place. We are expecting there a large intensity of light over there. So, when we have a large intensity of light over there, we call those points also as maxima. So, these are also the conditions for maxima or conditions for bright fringe. Okay. Now, what is exactly fringe? Fringe, we will discuss what exactly is fringe. Fringe is like patches. You know, on the screen when you have a patch of bright, and then you have dark, and then you have again a bright region. So those bright regions, the patches of bright regions are called fringe. Okay. So it is called maximal or the conditions for bright fringe. So all these are same thing. I mean, like constructive interference, maxima, bright fringe, all those are same thing. Over here we call that as minima, region of minima, and if the amplitudes are same, we saw in the last lecture that if the amplitudes are same, that means it will be a complete destruction, so there will be no amplitude, so there will be no light intensity over there, and we call this as the region of dark fringe. Okay, so I repeat again, fringe means the patches of the alternating bright and dark patches. Those patches are called fringe. So these are the conditions which we discussed in the last class. Also, before I go to the setup over here, we are going to make some assumptions. Okay, and the assumptions which I am going to make, I'll clarify that assumptions right away now. See what we are going to do. We are going to take a light source, and then we are going to put a barrier over there, and then I am going to make two small holes over here. Now these small holes, one hole over here and one hole over here, they are generally separated by a distance of millimeters, okay, sometimes lesser than that. And the screen which we generally place to obtain the fringe pattern, the alternate dark and bright and all, these are generally in the order of meter. So here we have millimeter, here we have meter. So in millimeter, in actual practice, how does a millimeter looks like? Millimeter generally looks like this much, okay? Two small dots, it won't be visible in the camera also, okay? So they are very closely spaced. So the assumption which we are going to do is, that means if I draw a line from here to here, and if I consider that it makes an angle of theta, and if I draw another line from here to here, I am going to consider this line also as theta, nearly equal to theta. And if I draw a line from the midpoint of the two openings, I am going to assume this also as theta. Yes, in actual practice, all these angles are not same. Would have been all theta, the line all three would have been parallel. Okay, but they are not parallel, they are converging rays. So they are converging to a point. But you can say it like this. So that means if this is 10 degree, then this will be somewhere around 9.9, and this will be around 10.1. So it's very, very, very close. Okay. Also one thing that the fringes or the pattern of dark and bright fringe which is going to get obtained on the screen, we don't go very far away. We remain very close to it. Okay. So from the midpoint of the screen, we are very near. Okay, we don't go very far away. We are very near. Why we are very near? What is the importance of that? The importance of that is we will appear in the derivation. So when you are very near to the central line, your theta is very less than 10 degree. Okay, so the theta is very, very small. We are going to assume that theta is small. Okay, so here we are going to assume theta is small. That is very near to the central line. Very near to the central line. Okay. When theta is small, we know that, if you remember this concept which we have discussed in earlier topics like simple harmonic motions also, when theta is very small, you can write sin theta almost equal to theta. You can also write tan theta almost equal to theta. That means for a smaller angle, I can almost write sin theta almost equal to tan theta. This is the approximations which we are going to use in the derivation. So for a very small angle, sin theta is approximately equal to tan theta. Okay. If you have to justify this, you can justify in this manner. What is sin theta? Sin theta is perpendicular by hypotenuse and tan theta is perpendicular by base. Okay, now if you consider a right angle triangle, if I consider this angle as theta, now this is perpendicular, this is your hypotenuse, okay, and this is your base. Now just imagine if your theta is very, very small. If your theta is very, very small, that means this line will come very close to the baseline. Okay, this line will come very close to baseline. That means the length of the base and the length of the hypotenuse will be almost same. That means perpendicular by hypotenuse is almost equal to perpendicular by base, and hence the reason sin theta will be almost equal to tan theta. Okay. So with this, I suggest you take a note of this, the conditions and the assumptions, and now we are going to take a note of this, and then we are going for the derivations. Okay. Moving ahead now for the derivations. So let's start here now. It's a very important derivations, generally asked for 3 marks. 3 marks, that means that the derivation is not too lengthy. Okay, so I have placed a source over here, and then this source creates a wavefront over here. As the wavefront reaches over here, it creates a secondary wavefronts. Okay, and then it moves out. So all these wavefront, as I have discussed in the last class, will come out. We are not dealing with the wavefronts today. We are going to deal with the path. Okay, so that is the reason why we discussed the entire condition in terms of path also. Now let us say the wave which starts from here. So let us say the wave which starts from here reaches to this particular point. This is the arbitrary point. I have just selected a point. Let us say this point is P. So let us consider that this point, the ray from here travels to this point, and let me call this as S1. Let me call this position as S2, and from here it travels to this point. Okay, so S1P is the path length, S2P is also a path length, S1P is the path length for ray 1. Let us consider this as ray 1, and let us consider this as ray 2. So the path traveled to reach to point P for this ray 1 is S1P, and the path traveled by ray 2 to reach point P is S2P. Okay. Now, this S1 and S2, these openings, the holes which you have made, these holes are known as slits. Okay, if there are two, I will write slits, S-L-I-T-S, slits. And this one is called screen. Okay, allow me to rub this part, this is not required in the derivation. The distance between the two slits, let me call this as D. Now you cannot take any other variable, it has to be small d, standard. Okay, if you open any book, you will find this as small d only. And the distance between the slit and the screen, this distance we call as capital D, the distance of the screen from the slit positions. Okay. The midpoint of these two openings, let me call this as the midpoint. Now you have to draw a straight line over here. This is called a central point on the screen, center point of the screen. And we will draw a reference line over here. This is my reference line. Okay, from the midpoint, this is my reference line, also going to the point P. Now, if I consider that this angle as theta, as I discussed earlier, I will consider this angle also as theta, and I will consider this angle also as theta. So, for ray 1, what is the path? Path is S1P. For ray 2, what is the path? Path is S2P. So, what is the path difference? Path difference, let me call that as delta x, and that is equal to S2P minus S1P. And as you can see here, S2P is longer than S1P. Now, in order to find the path difference, we will use this trick. So, from here to here and from here to here, if I have to find the path difference, what will I do? I will draw a perpendicular here. So, I will draw a perpendicular here. When you draw a perpendicular, that means from this point to this point, this distance, remember this one, from here to here and from here to here, these two distances are same. That means the path difference is equal to this distance. The path difference is equal to this distance. Okay, this is the path difference. This is the additional path ray 2 is traveling compared to ray 1. So I have to find this distance over here, this much. Now how will I find that? Let me consider this point as point A. So here we will write in triangle S1 S2A. In triangle S1 S2A. Remember, if this angle is theta, this angle will be also theta. Think why. Just think why. The answer to that is, if two lines makes an angle theta, then their perpendiculars will also make an angle of theta. Remember, this line is perpendicular to this ray. And this line, this one, the slit line, is perpendicular to the horizontal line. So, if ray 1 and this makes an angle theta, their perpendiculars will also make an angle of theta. So, in that triangle, what will I write sin theta as? Sin theta will be equal to perpendicular by hypotenuse. So, in this case, this is my perpendicular and this is my hypotenuse. So, perpendicular is S2A divided by hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is equal to D. Hypotenuse is equal to D. So, what is your S2A? S2A will be equal to D sin theta. And this S2A is nothing but S2P minus S1P, which is equal to delta x. Hence, what we have obtained? We have obtained the path difference is equal to D sin theta. Okay? So, we have obtained the path difference as D sin theta. And then we are going to use this condition. For small angle theta, sin theta is approximately equal to tan theta. And then my delta x can be now written as d times of tan theta. This is my path difference, d tan theta. Okay? Now, say that this point P from the center point on the screen maintains a distance called y. Okay? Now you consider the dotted line, the triangle in the dotted line. Consider this dotted line. The reference line which I have drawn, then this distance and this y. Can you see this? Okay? So, from the diagram, tan theta can be written as, what is tan theta? Perpendicular by base. So perpendicular is y and base is d. That is y divided by d. This implies delta x is equal to d tan theta which is equal to y by capital D. Okay. Sorry, what I'm writing. This is equal to d tan theta, and tan theta is equal to perpendicular by base, that is y divided by d. Okay, so tan theta is equal to y by d. So you will get delta x equal to d times of y by d. Okay. Okay. Please take a note till here, and then we will move ahead. I don't want to rub the diagram. I need the diagram. So just pause the video and take a note. Moving ahead now. Allow me to rub this part now. So continuing from here, we obtained delta x is equal to d times of y by capital D. Now, if this point, we remember in the very beginning I told you that P is an arbitrary point. Okay. Now I want to locate this point P as my preference. And my first preference is, what if that point P is a maxima, is a bright fringe, or is a constructive interference happening over there? So if P happens to be a region of constructive interference, that means delta x must satisfy the condition for bright fringes. Okay, that means if point P is a position of bright fringe, then I can write dy by capital D, that means the path difference delta x equals to 2, remember the condition for a maximum, that is equal to n times of lambda. Okay, that is for maxima, delta x must be equal to n times of lambda. So I am using this condition. So this gives me another formula which is equal to n lambda d capital divided by small d, if you rearrange the term over here. So this is formula. Let me call this as equation 1. This is formula, that is the position of, this gives the position of bright fringe. Okay. Now what does this formula speaks about? This is very important. Try to understand the formula. What does the formula speaks about? What is y? Y is the measurement from the central position, the central point of the screen. Suppose I want to know where is my second bright fringe. Second bright fringe from here. So second bright fringe from here means, what will I do? I will put the value of n as 2. Correct? So when you put n equals to 2, you will write 2 lambda d by t. You will get a value of y, and that value of y will be the position of second order bright fringe. Okay? Similarly, third fringe. And remember, all this first fringe, second fringe, third fringe, it all depends on which crest overlaps with which crest. Okay? If C1 overlaps, phase difference is 0. The value of n is 0. If C1 overlaps with C2, the phase difference is 2 pi, or the path difference is lambda. That means the value of n is 1. If C1 and C3 overlap, that means the path difference is path difference is 3 lambda, or the phase difference is 6 pi. Okay? So all those things are there. So this is the position of bright fringe. Now, if that point happens to be a dark region, I don't know whether it's a bright region or dark region. For example, just think of this situation. A value of y is given to you, value of d, lambda, and small d is given to you, and the question is which fringe is obtained over there. So when you put the value of y, lambda, d, and small d, you will find a value of n. Now just imagine if n does not comes out to be an integer. That means that point is not a bright region, correct? Because for bright region to be there, I need the value of n to be integer, 1, 2, 3, and so on. But if you are getting a value of n which is not integer, it comes in fraction, that means that point is not a bright region. So if it is not a bright region, who is there then? It has to be a dark region. So you have to go for a dark region formula. So how will you get the dark region formula? So if point P is a position of dark, if point P is a position of dark region or dark fringe, dark fringe, I will write delta x is equal to dy by capital D equals to 2n minus 1 lambda by 2. That is for dark fringe, or you can write for minima. For minima, we know that delta x must be equal to 2n minus 1 lambda by 2. Okay? So we are putting the condition of dark region, and that will give you the value of y as 2n minus 1 lambda d by small d. So these are the two derivations for bright and for dark fringe. How will you find the position? So this is the formula to find the position of dark, to find the position of bright and to find the position of dark. Remember, where is y measured from? Y is measured from the center point on the screen. Okay. So this derivation is over, and the derivation may continue depending upon the question. Okay, sorry. This here will be, there will be one 2 over here. So this will be your 2 over here. And whenever you write here, just also write n, where n is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. And here you will write where n is equal to 1, 2, 3 and so on. Don't start, if you are using 2n minus 1, don't start n with 0. Okay. Now pause the video and take a note of this. So now let's see what else is there in this topic. Okay, and remember, depending upon the nature of the question, the derivation may continue beyond that, and that is what we are going to see now. So what we are going to do next is we are going to find the concept. We are going to discuss the concept called fringe width. Now we know that on the screen, if this is my central one on the screen, we have alternate patches of, suppose if I consider this to be bright, then I have a dark region, then again I have a bright, then again a dark, and then again a bright, then dark, and again a bright, and so on. And same thing on this side also. So what I am drawing in the boxes are the bright fringes over here. Now the one which I have shaded, this is called central bright fringe. That means the midpoint of the screen will be always a bright. Now why it is always a bright? Now come to this formula over here. Now if the central point is bright, that means what is the value of y? Remember, y is measured from this point only. So for this point, the value of y is equal to 0. Correct? Now which formula will give you y equal to 0? Y is 0 only when your n, where your n is equal to 0 over here. Remember, this will not give you 0. For n equals to 1, this will give you lambda d by 2d. That is not the value of y is equal to 0. But when you put n equal to 0 over here, the value of y is equal to 0. That means central bright fringe will be always a bright fringe. And remember one very important point about central bright fringe. For the central bright fringe, the path difference is 0. The phase difference is 0. Please make an important note of this. For central bright fringe, the path difference is 0 and the phase difference is also 0. Now, in order to understand this, let us try to understand the slit again. So, any ray which is traveling to the bright, the central point, this distance and this distance will be same. Am I right? So, if the distance traveled by the ray till here and if this ray travels the same distance, then if this distance and if this distance are same, path difference is 0. And that is the reason why the central point will be always a bright fringe. Okay? So, if you have taken a note of that, now let's try to derive the formula for fringe width. The fringe width derivation starts here now. Just take this as a note, additional note. And now we are going to derive the fringe width. Now, how we are going to derive the fringe width? Suppose I want to derive the fringe width for bright. So if I have to derive the fringe width for bright, where is bright located? Now let us say take an arbitrary bright fringe. Let us take this bright fringe. Now this bright fringe is between two dark fringe. Now remember, this is bright and this is dark. Okay, this part is dark. This whole region is dark. This is also dark. Between these two dark lies the bright. So if I take the position of dark and if I take the position of this dark, so if I consider this dark has a value of n, then this dark will have a value of ns n minus 1, or I can say it like this for you to understand. If this is my fourth dark, then this will be my third dark. So if n is 4, then it will be third over here. So for third I will use n minus 1. So between the two positions of dark, two consecutive positions of dark, I have bright in between them. Okay. So over here, if I draw this diagram over here, this is the central line. So if I consider this one as the dark, and then I have another one over here as y n minus 1. This is for dark. This is also for dark. Then between these two dark lies my bright. So how does the formula looks like? The formula is like this. So for fringe width for bright fringe can be now written as yn minus 1 is equal to fringe width, where beta is fringe width, and yn minus 1 are position of dark fringes. Okay, now let's put the value of yn. So yn, if you remember the formula, the value of yn will be equal to 2n minus 1 lambda d by 2d minus, now yn minus 1. So bracket 2n minus 1 and then again minus 1 lambda d by 2d. Correct? This is n, and now I am writing n minus 1. So 2 n, now I am writing n minus 1, and then there is a minus 1 and there is a minus 1 over here. This must be equal to beta. And now when you simplify this, it's very easy to simplify over here. So when you simplify this over here, 2n lambda d by 2d minus lambda d by 2d minus, then it becomes 2n lambda d by 2d, and then you will have minus minus become plus, so plus 2 lambda d by 2d, and then again minus minus become plus, so plus lambda d by 2d. This is equal to beta. This goes out, minus lambda d by 2d plus lambda d by 2d, this goes out. What you have? 2 lambda d divided by 2d, and hence what you have got, this 2 and 2 will also get cancelled out. So what will you get? You will get lambda d by d. This is the formula for fringe width, lambda d by d. So don't forget, never forget this formula. It's a very important thing. Fringe width has a formula of beta is equal to lambda d by small d. Look at the dependence. It's directly proportional to d, inversely proportional to small d, directly proportional to wavelength. Okay, that means when if you increase capital D, that means the screen distance, your fringe width will become bigger. That means you will have more thicker fringe width. And when you decrease the small d, again the value of beta will increase. That means you will have thicker fringe width, and vice versa. Okay, so don't forget the dependence on that. On lambda, I will discuss in the next class. Now this we have derived for fringe width for bright fringe. Okay. Now let us discuss the fringe width for dark fringe. Fringe width for dark fringe. Okay. Forgot to say. Just pause the video and take a note of this. Now let's go for the dark fringe. So let us put this as a dark now. This becomes dark. And let us consider this as for bright, and this also for bright. That means between two bright lies the dark. Okay, as simple as that. where beta is the fringe width and yn and yn minus 1 are the position of bright fringes. And now we are going to put the formula of bright fringes now. So what is the formula for bright fringe? Remember, it's called lambda n lambda d by small d minus of n minus 1 lambda d by small d is equal to beta. And now simplify this. N lambda d by small d minus n lambda d by small d, and this minus minus become plus, so plus lambda d by small d is equal to beta. This 2 goes out and hence beta will be is equal to lambda d by small d. So what is the conclusion? Conclusion remains same, that the fringe width, whether it is dark or bright, the fringe width is same. So if they ask you derive the formula for fringe width and they have not mentioned dark or bright, you try to derive the fringe width for dark, because deriving for fringe width for dark is easy because steps are easier. Okay. And if they ask to derive the condition for fringe width or derive the formula for fringe width for 5 marks, you have to start from the beginning. That means you have to first derive y is equal to n lambda d by small d, y is equal to 2n minus 1 lambda d by 2d, and then you have to come to this point. Okay? And if they ask you for 2 marks, you just start from here. Done. Okay? So depending upon the marks, the derivation, length of the derivation will vary. So I'll pause my video over here. Almost the theory is done. Then we have some conceptual questions to be discussed. That questions I will discuss in my next lecture, and that mainly contains the 1 marks questions, the dependence on lambda. Okay, and then we will see the intensity of light, whether it violates whether there is a violation of energy conservation or not. All this, and it's a very interesting class. The next class will be when we will be discussing the 1 marks question over here. So today's class it's over. Thank you for watching.